This is the seventh gate of Kammasaka Zen, known as emptiness and the physical. This is Dharma talk number 1. And the subject is the complete dissolution of the self. So in this seventh gate, emptiness and the physical, it opens the practitioner to the profound realization of the non-dual nature of existence, where the boundaries between self and other, mind and body, dissolve into an ungraspable unity. At its core lies the principle of complete dissolution of the self, a transformative insight that resonates throughout Zen Buddhism for centuries. The self, as commonly conceived, is a composite of perceptions and thoughts and emotions and memories and physical sensations. And from the moment of birth, we as individuals are conditioned to perceive ourselves as separate entities with unique identities. Social structures, cultural narratives, and personal experiences, they tend to fortify this perception, really reinforcing the illusion of a distinct, autonomous I. But in Buddhist philosophy, however, the self is seen as an illusion, a temporary aggregation of the 5 skandhas, form being rupa, sensation, vedana, perception, samjhana, mental formations, samskara, and consciousness, vijnana. These elements, they interact to create the appearance of a coherent self, much like a river appears to be a continuous flow of water, despite being composed of ever-changing water. The self is not a fixed entity, but a fluid process, empty of inherent existence. So this seventh gate, it invites us as practitioners to confront this illusion by integrating the teachings of emptiness, shunyata, with the reality of the physical body. This integration reveals that the self is neither wholly mental nor wholly physical, but a construct that arises from the interplay of conditioned phenomena. The concept of emptiness in Zen does not imply nihilism or voidness, but rather an absence of intrinsic independent existence, because everything arises in interdependence. Everything arises lacking a fixed essence. This physical body, often perceived as the anchor of selfhood, is simply empty. Its cells regenerate, its sensations fluctuate, and its boundaries tend to blur in relationship with the environment. The air we breathe, the food we consume, the earth we tread, are all extensions of the body, demonstrating its inseparability from the external world. And in the practice of Kammasaka Zen, the physical is not negated, but embraced. It's embraced as a gateway to realizing emptiness. So the body becomes a field of meditation, where the illusionary boundaries of self are examined, and then they gradually dissolve. Practices such as mindful breathing, mindful meditation, and samu, mindful work, anchor this awareness in the present moment, revealing the total interconnectedness of body and mind, self and other. So the journey towards the dissolution of the self is neither linear nor predictable. And it requires patience. It requires discipline. And it requires a willingness to confront deeply ingrained attachments and fears. So, several key practices within Kammasaka facilitate this process, such as meditative inquiry involves direct observation of the self's components. Sitting in zazen, seated meditation, the practitioner examines thoughts, sensations, and emotions as they arise and as they pass away. And then over time, this practice unveils the impermanence and the interdependence of these phenomena, which will erode the belief in the stable, separate self. And in koans, paradoxical statements or questions that we use in Zen training, they challenge the conceptual mind and point directly to the nature of reality. For example, the koan, "What was your original face before your father was born?" It invites the practitioner to look beyond the conditioned self and to experience the formless nature of existence. So the practice of Kammasaka Zen emphasizes the integration of emptiness with physicality through embodied practices. Yoga, Tai Chi, mindful movement, they all allow practitioners to simply experience the fluidity of the body and its connection to the environment. And these practices, they reveal that the physical is not a barrier to emptiness, but rather it is simply a manifestation of it. In the practice of samu, or mindful effort, it can transform ordinary tasks into what we call a sacred activity. When the practitioner loses themselves in sweeping the floor or tending the garden, the boundaries of self dissolve, and the task becomes an expression of interconnectedness, and the doer tends to disappear into the doing. The dissolution of the self is not an annihilation, but rather a profound liberation. It is the realization that the self was never a fixed entity to begin with. And it's in this awakening that the practitioner experiences a boundless sense of freedom as the weight of self-concern, attachment and aversion begins to fall away. This experience is often described in Zen as Kensho, seeing into one's true nature, or the initial opening of the mind's eye. So the physical and the emptiness merge into a seamless whole. The practitioner no longer identifies with the body as mine, but sees it as a part of a greater flow of existence. Similarly, thoughts and emotions are no longer clung to as personal, but they are witnessed as transient phenomena, arising and dissolving within this vast field of awareness. The realization of non-self, it tends to dissolve the boundaries between self and other, giving rise to profound compassion. And when the illusion of the separateness falls away, then the suffering of others is no longer perceived as just their suffering, but it's a part of a shared existence, part of a shared experience of existence. And it's this insight that fuels the Bodhisattva's vow to alleviate suffering for all beings. Without a fixed self to defend, then fear loses its grip. Death, often viewed as the ultimate threat to selfhood, is seen as a natural transformation rather than an end. And the practitioner lives with a sense of ease and openness, embracing change. Change being the essence of life. And the disillusion of the self, it unlocks the wellspring of creativity. Freed from the confines of ego, then the practitioner can engage with life spontaneously and authentically. Art, work, and relationships become expressions of the unconditioned nature of being. And the divide perceived in the seventh gate is bridged between physical and spiritual realms. And this body, once a source of attachment and suffering, is transformed into a vessel for awakening. The physical becomes sacred, not as an object to worship, but a manifestation of emptiness and interconnection. So, the path to self-disillusion is not without challenges. Egoic resistance, fear of annihilation, and attachment to identity can create obstacles. It can create misunderstandings. Misunderstandings about emptiness may lead to nihilism or disengagement from life. So it's crucial for practitioners to balance insight with compassion, thereby grounding their realization in ethical conduct and mindful living. In this case, the guidance of a skilled teacher is invaluable. Invaluable in navigating these challenges. So the seventh gate seventh gate provides a framework for integrating emptiness and the physical, ensuring that the practitioner's journey is holistic and transformative. So in this understanding, the complete dissolution of the self, as explored through the seventh gate, is a radical yet liberating shift in perception. And then by embracing emptiness and the physical, then we as practitioners can transcend the illusion of separateness and simply awaken to the boundless nature of existence. And it's this realization that transforms not only the individual, but also their relationship with the world. And this can foster compassion, creativity, and freedom. So the journey through this gate, it's not an escape from life, but rather a profound engagement with its true essence. It's a dance of emptiness, a dance of emptiness and form, of self and non-self, that reveals the infinite beauty of being. Welcome to the seventh gate.